Okay, welcome to Math Lesson 13-5. Our math objectives are: I can compare fractions using benchmark numbers. I can understand fractions are numbers that represent parts of a whole. I can explain my thinking and show my work using academic words, numbers, and pictures. A benchmark number is a number we can use to compare other numbers. It's those numbers that we already know, like 1. We all know what a 1 is. We all know what 0 is. So we can use those benchmark numbers to compare and learn about other numbers. Here's your solve and share for the day. Mr. Evans wrote 2/8, 4/8, 6/8, 1/8, 3/8, 5/8, and 7/8 on the board. Then he circled the fractions that are closer to 0 than to 1. Which fractions did he circle? Which fractions did he not circle? You're going to solve those problems any way you choose, and you are going to explain how you decided. And here's a helpful hint. Use your fraction bars to compare. Write two fractions with a denominator of 6 that are closer to 0 than to 1. I always like to read carefully. Okay, two fractions, a denominator of 6, that means the bottom number is 6, and they are closer to 0 than to 1. It's probably going to be a small number, right, if it's closer to 0. Let's see what I have on my number line over here. There's 0 and there's 1. Those are good benchmark numbers because we know what 0 is and we know what 1 is. And I also know this says the denominator is 6, so they divided this number line into 6 equal parts. Let's see if I can do that real quick. Yeah, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, I have 6 equal parts. And I want two fractions that are closer to 0 than to 1. Well, I know that numbers like 1, 2, and 3 are very close to 0. I can count 0, 1, 2, 3. They are very close to 0. And I can also think if Avery has a pizza and he gives me, say, 1/6 of that pizza, that's kind of close to not getting any pizza, right? That's kind of close to getting 0 pizza if it's 1/6. So I'm going to count here and I'm going to say, yep, there's 1. And this right here is 1/6. It's very close to 0, isn't it? It's the very next line, very close to 0. And this line over here, that would be 2/6, right? So now I got 1/6, 2/6. Even if I have 2/6 of Avery's pizza, it's still kind of close to having 0 pizza. Okay, but those are two fractions with a denominator of 6. There it is, and they're closer to 0 than to 1. 1's all the way over here. Now remember, 1 is a whole number line. That's the whole number. That's the whole group. That's the whole pizza. All right, write two fractions with a denominator of 8 that are closer to 1 than to 0. Okay, denominator of 8, again, tells me this number line is broken into 8 equal parts. Now I'm getting closer to 1 than to 0. Read carefully when you do the work. Closer to 1 than 0. So I'm going to be down here. I'm going to be down closer to 1. I almost am getting a whole pizza here. So let's see. Let's divide. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and there's number 8 right there. And I know something about that number 1 there. I know that since number 1 is the whole thing, on out here, it's 8/8, isn't it? Number 1 equals 8/8. They're the same. Right? Now remember, I'm looking for two fractions. Denominator of 8. These are all going to have a denominator of 8 because I broke the line into 8 equal parts. But I'm looking for a fraction that's closer to 1 than to 0. So I'm going to come all the way up here. I'm not worried about down here. I'm coming all the way over here, closer to 8. Well, let's see. I'll bet 7/8. It's going to be very close to 1, isn't it? Right? This is me eating 7/8 of Angel's pizza. 7 out of 8 slices of Angel's Pizza. I almost ate all of Angel's Pizza. I'm closer to 1 there. And I know counting wise, I bet 6/8 is closer to 1 than it. Woo! Sorry, that's supposed to be an 8. Closer to 1 than it is to 0. It's not even close to 0 if we have 6 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts. Very close to. Look at that. I'm very close to 8 parts a whole there. Okay. Choose from the fractions 1/8, 1/4, 6/8, and 3/4. Okay, so they give us 4 fractions to choose from. And we can use fraction strips to help. Remember our friend, the fraction strips right here. Okay, or you may have some at home that you made out of paper or blocks or whatever, but you can use this. Okay, let's see. Read carefully which fractions are closer to 0. I'm going to highlight that. It's so important. They want to know closer to 0. Okay, than to 1. Well, let's see. I'm going to divide 1/8, 1/4, 6. Oh, these are different. But you know what I notice? Look at the numerator. The numerator tells me how many parts out of the whole that I have, right? This tells me I'm just talking about 1 part out of 8 parts, 1 part out of 4 parts, 6 parts out of 8 parts. Remember, I'm looking for things that are close to 0. So I know that this is 1 out of a group, or 1 slice out of a pizza, or 1 piece of cake, or 1 whatever. It's only 1. So is this one here. So I'll bet that the fractions 1/8 and 1/4, 1/8 and 1/4 are closer to 0. And if I put this on my number line, if I divide this into 8 parts, we just did that over here, didn't we? You do. Oh, I'm still working, still working. Leave me alone. I make mistakes all the time. It's just to see if the kids are paying attention. Trying to go back to this page here, because remember we just divided this line into 8ths, and we know that 1/8 is going to be way down here. Okay, let's look at our fractions and see if we can play with it here. What did we do? 1/8. Well, there's 1/8. There's my whole. And this over here, this has got to be 0, right? Because that's where we start. So 1/8 is very close to 0. 1/4, that's a small number, very close to 0. It's not even close to the 1 whole over here. Okay, so 2 fractions that are close to 0 are going to be 1/8 and 1/4. 1/8 and 1/4 going to be right down here, close to 0. Which fractions are closer to 1? Now they're changing it on us. They want to know closer to 1 than to 0. So I'm looking up here and I know it can't be 1/8. 1's almost 0. 1/4, that's real close to 0. That's going to be down here. But 6/8, 6/8 has got to be way over here, because 7/8, 8/8, that's almost a whole, isn't it? 6/8, 7/8, it's almost a whole. It's very close to 1. So I know that 6/8 and 3/4, that's me eating almost all of Angel's pizza, right? He cut it into 4 slices and I ate 3 of them. So that's going to be way down here. We can even draw our line there. Let's see, divide our line into 4 parts. And we know that 3/4, 1, 2, 3/4 is going to be right there. Okay, very close to 1. Let's see what we have here. Use the 2 fractions with a denominator of 8 to write a true statement. Okay, here's your 2 fractions, 1/8 and 6/8. But I need to put them in these boxes. One of those fractions is less than this fraction. Well, we know 1/8 is very close to, 1/8 is very close to 0, isn't it? So 1/8 is going to be less than 6/8. Do you want me to eat 1/8 of your pizza or 6/8 of your pizza? Okay. Rewatch this video, pause and work out the problems on your own. That's how you practice. That's how you get better. 13-5, there's another video on Pearson. So go through Power School, watch that video, pause, think, and do the work. Then you've got your 13-5 practice buddy, 13-5 solve and share. Show us what you know. Have fun.